Viewer discretion is advised on this one because it's going to be a hard subject to talk about for a lot of people. So if you're sensitive to this subject, I would definitely suggest not tuning in until you're ready to tune in. But I want to talk about what to do after a miscarriage. Really, really tough topic that not a lot of people talk about. And that's part of the problem, I think, is that a lot of people don't talk about it. So there's no guidance. Whenever something finally happens, there's no guidance. So I want to try to give a little bit of guidance for what to do after you experience a miscarriage. I think the first thing is to realize that it affects both parties involved. So both partners are going to be affected by this. So when my wife and I had a miscarriage, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. And it was really hard for me too. And of course, it was very, very hard for her. And so I'm not comparing like her grief with mine, but I am saying that it affected me as well. And a lot of people don't realize that, is that it affects all parties because there's this expectation and there's these plans that you've made and everything just falls apart. So it's very difficult to go through. Another thing that people don't realize is that it can be really hard on the woman's body. So, according to what's going on, you will find out beforehand that you're going to have a miscarriage, and then you have to prepare for it, and then you have to see the effects of it. And it's just very, very difficult, not only emotionally, but physically. That grief, that loss, it's very hard to do. And so knowing that you're not alone is really important. Talking to others about it, talking to a counselor, talking to friends who have gone through the same thing is especially beneficial, because if you know people who have gone through the same thing, they can meet you in a place that you absolutely know that they know what you're going through. So in my opinion, that's essential, is finding others who have gone through the same thing, because it is very, very hard. And another thing that really helped my wife and I is just to talk about it and realize that it's okay to grieve. It's okay to have these emotions. And then, there's always a part of you that will always remember that. So it doesn't ever go away, but it gets easier. And so I think what happens in our society a lot of times is if there's a miscarriage, it's just kind of flippantly talked about, like, oh yeah, you had a miscarriage, it happens. And it does happen, but that doesn't mean that it's not hard. So my encouragement to you, what to do after a miscarriage: get support from those who have been through it. Make sure that you're communicating with your partner and then both of you are processing. And beyond that, try to stay positive about the future, because that particular miscarriage says nothing about what's going to happen in the future. Even if you've been trying for a while, it doesn't mean that the next one's going to be a miscarriage, because it's going to pop in your head when you get pregnant again, or when you're trying to get pregnant. It's like, oh no, what if this happens again? Just because it's happened before doesn't mean it's going to happen again. We had my daughter Olivia a year and a half after, and completely great. She's wonderful. So just know that there's support. And if you feel like you ever need to ask a question that you're afraid to ask or nobody's ever thought to talk to you about, feel free to DM me. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have that I know. And if I don't know, I'll be glad to refer you to somebody who does. Thank you very much, and tune in for the next video.